Okay, people, so we are now there, right? At our headline fight. And it's a good fight, man. We're at lightweight and we have got former champion Charles Oliveira against Mateusz Gamrot, right? Who feels he is ready for that next challenge. So, when you break it down, right? Mateusz Gamrot. He is 34, 5'10", 70 and a half inch reach. Right? He's got an overall record of 25-3 with one no contest. He's coming in off of a win. He's 8-3 in the UFC. He came via KSW, you know? Was a former champion, should I say, in that organization. So last time out, he beat Ludwig Klein in May 2025. And Klein had been looking really good leading into that fight. So that's a very good win, right? Very good win. He lost a war with Dan Hooker. You know, that was August 2024. But before that, he put together 3 good wins, right? Beat Jalen Turner, then Rafael Fariz, and Rafael dos Santos, the Años, you know? So yeah, good wins right there. You know, he lost to Benal Dariush in that was a great fight. Right? Lost a close decision to Arman Sukian, you know, which I think that was a fight of the night. Right? He made his debut against Goram Kotalides, right? Split decision loss. And he was very highly touted. I mean, at the end of that fight, Kotalides was like, oh, I thought Gamrot won. You know what I mean? So it was a little controversial, but it was a good fight. And then Gamrot, you know, beat Scott Holtzman, Jeremy Stevens, Diego Ferreira, and then he went up against Tarzukian. So, yeah, he's fought some tough opposition, some vets in the game, some highly skilled fighters, up and coming fighters like Tarzukian, you know what I mean? Who, not champions, but you look at them and you think, yeah, he's got the skills to hold that belt, right? So that is Mateusz Gamrot, and look, everyone knows the name. Charles Du Bronx Oliveira, right? 35, 5'10", 74 inch reach. So he has got a 3.5 inch reach advantage over Gamrot. You know, he's got an overall record of 35-11 with one no contest. He is coming in off a loss, and I think that is the big one here. You know what I mean? That's the one people are wondering about. He's 23-11-1 in the UFC, right? And look, last time out, he got knocked out in the first round by Ilia Topuria. That was June, right? It's now October. And I think people think it's a bit of a quick turnaround, especially after the way he went down, right? After the way he was dropped. It wasn't a flash knockout, right? He was spun And it was weird because he didn't start off the fight badly, right? It's just he had landed some good shots, and I think he took a couple of shots. They weren't clean shots, but I think he thought, oh, I've tasted the power. It's fine. I'm gonna show him I ain't scared. So he moved in, guard down, and got knocked out. But look, we know he is skilled, right? He beat Michael Chandler. Well, he's beaten Chandler a couple of times, right? He lost a split to Arman Tazoukian, which many did think he won, right? So there is that one. He beat Benny Dariush quickly, and that I felt bad for Benny in that one because he'd been on a streak, right? He'd constantly been overlooked for that title fight, and then he got his opportunity. A win over Oliveira would have given him a shot, and he lost, right? And yeah, Oliveira, he was a former champion, right? Former champion. But he, he lost that, right? He won the belt. It was, what do you say? Vacant. Yes. And he won it in a fight against Michael Chandler, where he knocked Chandler out in the second round. That was May 2021. He then defended it against Dustin Poirier, right? He caught him with a rear naked choke. He then, it was a weird one, right? Because he lost the belt, but beat Justin Gaethje. Now he lost it over weight, a weigh-in issue. I think it was like half a pound, but there was a lot of controversy over the scale for that event, because I think a few fighters had weighed in before, were fine, and then hit the official scales and they were all slightly over, and it was a very odd situation. So he lost the belt, but he was still champion. You know what I mean? He was still champion. Everyone knew that. And so in that fight against Makhachev, Islam, that was, for the belt, but neither, like, Oliveira wasn't classed as champion in that fight. But that was an odd one, man. That was an odd fight for Charles because, he got put on his ass and he got choked out. And he tapped quickly when he got caught with that arm triangle. So, he's been trying to rebuild, right? Get back to that title shot, which he did. But then he lost. So he thinks he can still be champion. He thinks he can put on another run. So this would be the start of it, if he can. Right? If he can. And I think everyone knows with Oliveira, there was a time, right? There was a time where he lost a lot, right? In those challenges, he crumbled. But then he turned it around, right? After the loss to Paul Felder, he turned it around. Got bare stoppages, some knockouts, a lot of submissions. He's the leader in submission wins, right? Oliveira has so many records. He is skilled. But this will be a test, right? Gamrot is a very good wrestler. I think this will be similar to the Tsuzukian fight, right? And as with that fight, though, he did control Tsuzukian on the ground a good few times. Like, it ended with Oliveira on Tsuzukian's back. I think it was on his back or he had him in an arm bar. One of the two. Right? But he could control Tsuzukian. And, you know, when you look at the fight between Gamrot and Tsuzukian, right, they were very similar in skill sets. So I think Oliveira can do well here. I think, you know, Gamrot, he does like to stand and throw, right? He does like to do that, but he hasn't got that one touch knockout, right? He has caught people on that sweet spot and knocked them out, but he hasn't got the same power as like Topuria. You know what I mean? So Oliveira doesn't have to worry about that. And Gamrot will most likely go to the ground with him because he does feel that his wrestling and grappling is good. So I think he's the type of fighter to be like, I ain't scared of your ground game, right? So we have seen Oliveira get put on his bum, right? But he then uses his ground game, his jiu-jitsu, to control and then usually win a fight. So Gamrot does have to be worried about that ground game. I mean, as I said, he is the leading submission winner. And so with this, right, Gamrot, he is the fresher of the two. He hasn't been in as many wars as Oliveira, and he isn't coming off of a knockout loss. But I do think Charles, that strength of competition, right, the fact that he is dangerous on the feet and on the ground. And this fight will go to the ground at some point. So I think that's where Charles has the advantage. And I will be taking Oliveira, people, for the win. Now, who have you got? That's what I want to know, people. So let us keep that conversation alive, right? And you can tell me, do you have Oliveira or are you going with Gamrot?